This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com. And today, as my special guest, I have a wrestler who also happens to be the son-in-law of WWE Hall of Famer Road Warrior Animal. And now he is joining SWE Fury, the Heartthrob Jaden. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I see the lion in the background there. It kind of reminds me of you with the hair that you got going.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm going for. Got to look up to my idols on the wall.
So for people that haven't seen you wrestle, do you want to talk a little bit to start this off about your wrestling career and the style of wrestling that you do?
Sure thing, yeah. I just actually passed my 7-year mark, which is crazy. Feels like just yesterday. But I started in about 2014. Started in North Dakota. Learned from a local independent company there. And then just worked and worked. Learned a lot of my stuff in Minnesota, traveling with some of those guys. And then in 2016, I got affiliated with Harley Races here in Missouri. Ended up moving a year later. And started training there. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the old school wrestling. Love the 80s, 90s wrestling. And yeah, that's the backbone of my wrestling, is kind of that old school, hard hitting, that kind of action.
And that's what they're trying to bring to SWE Fury. Actually, the owner wanted me to pass along. I can't say it yet, the exact stations, but they've just added 2 more stations in the Texas area to their TV show, and they're really expanding. How did you become involved with the company? I know Road Warrior Animal, your father-in-law, used to be involved with it.
Yeah, I've seen their posters and all that, or their flyers, being shared throughout social media and stuff, and looking at the guys they had, looking at the guys they were bringing in, I knew it was a pretty good company, but it just happened to, there was an opportunity for me, and Animal offered to James, he's like, I could have Jaden come in and work, and that's kind of how it just fell into place, and got to do a match. They really liked me, so then they booked me for their event, but unfortunately he wasn't able to be there. But that was the last time I was there for his memorial show, which was it went very well, I should say.
Yeah, that was must have been pretty hard for you to experience that, because the loss of Animal was so sudden, and you sent me some of those wedding pictures. It seems like you guys were close.
Yeah, I saw him quite a bit throughout. Jacob, he's my stepson. He plays hockey and football, and Joe was always there, all the practices. He's always on top of that. Yeah, loved his sports, and he loved being there in support of Jacob. But I'd see him 2-3 times a week. So over the last 4 years. So yeah, it was really tough when you get to know him, because he's just such a good guy, outside of the wrestling business and all that.
Were you intimidated at all when you first started dating his daughter, that is Road Warrior Animal's daughter?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, wouldn't want to get on his bad side, one of the biggest, baddest guys on the planet, ever roam this earth, and don't want to get on his bad side,
Were you a fan of Animals growing up?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. My cousin, he lived very close to me, but we all had those wrestling buddies, those pillow types, and we beat the crap out of all those guys. I mean, we had Hawk, Animal, Hogan, Savage, Boss Man. We had a bunch of them, but yeah, they were always one of my favorites. And I mean, you can't top their entrance. It just gives you chills. Absolute chills, and there's a reason why there's a Road Warrior pop. Everybody wants it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Did he give you any advice as far as professional wrestling? Obviously, he must have seen a bunch of your matches.
Yeah, he did. He always told me to lay my stuff in, and just keep with the old school style. Um, just training with Harley. That that's the course it's going to be. You're not going to go too much into today's style, should I say? But yeah, he just had a lot of good information about the business as a whole. Because there's so much more that goes into wrestling outside of just being in the ring. But just how to handle yourself as an athlete, and just a professional human being.
And of course, I guess your brother-in-law is his son that used to play in the NFL. Did he ever have any interest in joining wrestling after his football career was done?
No, I mean, if he wanted to, I'm sure he'd have a place in the WWE, but he chose not to go that route. I mean, very, very successful NFL career, and man, he made the most of that.
Herb Simmons says you're a great addition to WWE. I'm going to guess you've worked for Herb over there in Missouri.
SICW, yeah, I love Herb. He's a great guy. He's been in this business forever. So thank you, Herb. I appreciate it, buddy.
There's a fan on here, biggest Richard Cranium. It's not his dad, Richard. It's his father-in-law. But he's asking if you feel there's a shadow left by Animal on the business that's helped open some doors for you.
Yeah, I mean, getting into SWE is one of them. But I try not to piggyback off of him for say. I like to try to go out and earn it myself. But yeah, obviously, if he can help me in any way, like he did here with SWE and a couple other companies. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take that. Who wouldn't, right? But for now, you just got to keep grinding, keep that daily grind. That's what it's all about.
Arturo watching online here says you look like Hangman Page. Have you ever got that before?
I have actually a few times. It's funny.
What are some of your goals in wrestling as far as would it be AEW or WWE, or would you want to help SWE from the ground up, build into something bigger? Where do you see yourself in like 5 years?
I mean, that's a tough question. Any opportunity that's put my way would be great. If anybody offers me a contract, I would hop on it. It can only benefit myself. But I mean, I really like what SWE is doing, and if they keep building at this pace, I mean, it could turn into something really good. As far as wrestling today, I mean, it's changing, but I mean, I'm not saying it's changing for the worse, but I feel I kind of fit into that SWE style, for say, especially if they're portraying the old wrestling and trying to bring back that era. I mean, I kind of fit that mold.
That's good. Yeah, there's not that many companies out there going after that old school style these days. You mentioned you trained with Harley Race. I attended a couple of his camps, and I really liked being around him. What was his training like for you overall? And do you have any stories about Harley you could share with us?
Yeah, it's great. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to get Harley when he was like in the ring and walking and all that, but he was in his wheelchair, and he would circle around and he'd chirp in every once in a while, but it was great. Everything he was saying made sense. His mind was still clicking, still going. But yeah, learning from him was awesome. Plenty of good stories from him. Some I don't want to share on here, but I know a lot of the time, we just hanging out with the boys and all that, getting some water or something. Pretty soon, bam, run into the back of your legs or something. There's this wheelchair. It's Harley Race running into what are you gonna say to Harley? But and then he would just start laughing and probably ask you for a soda or something. Go get him a soda.
What were his shows like? I wrestled on one of them back, and I think it was 2014-ish or 15. But it seemed like he had pretty good crowds overall. What is that territory like up there?
Well, so it's in Troy, Missouri, and they're really built-in fans, and they like that old school wrestling as well. Yeah, we pack them in the arena on the bigger event called Night of Champions. He holds at a different arena, not the race arena. But yeah, I mean, people love it. Right now, Missouri's not really doing anything. We had a couple shows at Harley's since COVID, but I mean, we've had a couple. It's kind of been spreading around and stuff. So best interest was to close it down for a little bit. So I haven't got to go into the ring for a while there. I'm actually going next week. I like to go once a week or so just to, keep my cardio in shape, stay in that ring shape, because if you don't and, something would pop on the horizon, I'd get a call or something saying I need to do this. Well, I need to be ready. So I've learned that from prior experiences, I guess, that you always need to be ring ready. So I'm itching to get back in there, start doing some blow up drills. As much as I hate them, I love them because they help so much with your ring cardio, and it's crucial to get some good matches these days.
Now, I know Leland Race runs the school now. I've heard he's Harley Race's son, but I've heard from other people that he's just a student that kind of became like a son to Harley. Do you know if he was the legitimate son or not?
I don't know. I can't say that here. I guess I don't really know either way.
Is Trevor Murdoch still hanging around the school?
I've been on several shows with Trevor. He's not training right now at the place. I think that was when they were in Eldon. Now we're in Troy, so he a little out of his way.
Maria Davis, you already kind of answered this question, but she says, how long have you been wrestling? It's been about 8 years, right?
7.
7 years, okay.
Yeah.
Have you had any WWE tryouts yet?
So I've done the extra thing 3 times now. So 2 of the times we got to kind of run through some matches and all that. But no like official tryout down in Florida, but hoping someday.
Would that have been when WWE came to Missouri? They contacted probably Harley School, and you were one of the people selected to go down?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So what was that experience like? Was that nerve-wracking, like having the match even before the show? The agents are watching you.
Yeah, very nerve-wracking. But, I learned a lot from it because one of the times I was in the ring, they must have liked what they saw, and they told me to stay in the ring. Brought in somebody new, and we were just wrestling, just calling it. And yeah, then they kept me in the ring again. So I was kind of freaking out myself. And I wasn't prepared. I didn't know that was going to happen. So I was stressing. At the same time before that, all we were doing is kind of sitting around and stuff. So, I should have been stretching and all that. So I kind of got a little blown up in the ring. But like I said, you live and learn. So, if I ever do it again, I will be prepared for that if they do leave me in the ring and want to see how long I can wrestle or whatever. I just know that I'm going to be ready. So, like I said, multiple times now, it's a learning experience, and you never stop learning in this business. So,
Did anyone give you any feedback after? I've heard from some people, Steven Regal will give a little talk after the tryouts, or not the tryouts, but the extra jobs.
yeah, both times we actually got feedback when we did it. For the most part, I had good feedback besides just be ready, because you never know what life will throw at you or what somebody's going to ask you. I could get a call tomorrow and say, you're going 25 minutes on AEW, and I got to be ready. I can't be in there slacking and huffing and puffing. I got to be ready to fill that role.
Jake Bush is asking, what was your favorite match of your father-in-law, and do you do any of the Road Warriors moves?
So I do the jumping elbow. I can jump pretty high, I guess. So I like to do that. I really like to do the power slam, but it's a lot harder than it looks. I must say that. As far as the favorite match of the Road Warriors, I'd probably say some of their Starrcade stuff. Those crazy matches they had up on the can't even think of the word. What am I talking about?
The scaffold.
Yes, there you go. Scaffold matches.
Thank God they don't have those anymore.
Yeah. Scary stuff, man. And then hearing some of his stories behind that, I guess that's kind of why I like those the most, is he said they never climbed up there or anything before that. It's just like shows on. Here's the scaffolds, and he said he got out there and looked up, and I just can't imagine what was going through those guys' minds and just performing. And yeah, I don't know if I could do it, honestly. Be up on a scaffold like that, it's swaying around, and yeah, but probably one of my favorites are those.
I think Hawk almost fell off at one point too. Wasn't there like a loose beam or something?
Yeah, you see him almost go, man, crazy.
And of course, Jim Cornette, in the funniest moment ever, breaks both of his legs or falling off that.
Yeah.
Now, when you met Hannibal's daughter, did you know she was related to him, or did you guys just randomly meet and find out later?
It's kind of a crazy story. How it all worked out was I originally had a show in Minnesota. I had a double shot in Minnesota, and it ended up getting canceled. And I remembered I was getting contacted by another guy in Kansas before this, and I already told him, like, I'm booked. I got to stick to my word. I got to keep these shows in Minnesota. Well, since that canceled, I called him back. I'm like, hey, explain the situation. And he's like, yeah, we can get you back in. I'm like, cool. And then all of a sudden, like the next week or so, he's like, yeah, I got Hannibal to come too. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I always wanted to meet him. I can learn so much from him. He's a Minnesota guy. So yeah, went there, drove like 11 hours to get there. And I met my wife there. But I had no idea he had a daughter. I obviously knew about James and all that, but it's just a small world. And then from there, I got to Missouri because I was already planning to move there to go to Harley's school.
I see. So it worked out perfectly. Someone's asking if Animal treated you good while you were dating his daughter. He didn't scare you off, at least.
No, he didn't scare me off, but yeah, he was great. Great human being.
Ibzan is wondering, where were you when you heard that he passed away?
I was at my house.
Tough situation. Maria Davis says the Road Warriors were the best tag team. I'll second that. They were my favorite. So, as far as other countries, have you traveled to any other countries to wrestle yet, or has it been mostly in the U.S.?
Just in the U.S. I'd love to go to Japan. That's like one of my main goals is to go to Japan. Also been in contact with my buddy Danny Duggan up in Canada. He runs SWE. He's asked me multiple times, and when I was living in North Dakota and Minnesota there too, I should have shot up there. I just couldn't find a thing that works, and but I really want to do his tours because he does those 2-week tours or something. So if I can make something work this year, if COVID stops and we get things back to normal, definitely want to get up to Canada and do one of Danny Duggan's tours where he, 2 weeks straight or 3 weeks straight, whatever he plans on doing. But I think I'd learn a lot like that, going to town and just that daily grind.
Yeah, I actually had Danny on last week because he was fined $1,300 for trying to put on a studio show with no crowd.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that he's going through all that. And his tours are sometimes even 30 days. So yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of experience if you could get on one of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dennis McCowan says you should have a scaffold match anniversary and throw Cornette off.
Oh man, he'd roast me on the internet forever.
Someone saying he lives in Missouri. It used to be a good wrestling state. Before COVID, what was wrestling like in Missouri compared to what it was back in like the prime days when Harley had his territory there?
There was it goes, I guess. There's like a show a weekend. It's not like super packed where there's shows going on nonstop. I mean, I wish it was, but there's usually something going on every weekend. And Illinois is not too far away, so 45 minutes. I live about half hour outside of St. Louis, so 45 minutes for me, I'll be in Illinois already. So it's a nice location. It's centrally located. There's a reason why a lot of bands stop in and stuff, because it's smack dab in the middle of the U.S. So I think it's a good place. I like going to OVW and stuff. Louisville's only 4 hours away. Chicago's only 5. As a wrestler, those are pretty short times. Sometimes you get stuck in a car for 10 to 15 hours. So,
how long is the trip going to be to Texas, or are you flying?
I'll be driving 9.5 hours. So.
There you go. SWE Fury's getting so big. We have people driving almost 10 hours. That's some dedication. But that February 6th Sweetheart Brawl show in the Dallas area, that's going to be a big event. Do you have any idea who your opponent's going to be yet for that event?
I have no idea. But I guess that's the good thing about wrestling. You don't always know. It's show up, do your thing, right?
And for people that don't know, SWE Fury, they also have a YouTube channel. Mondays, they're now posting the TV show on YouTube on their channel. And Tuesdays, they're letting me post the SWE TV show right here on the Hannibal TV. Immediately after that, at 9 p.m. Eastern, the show will drop at 8. And at 9 p.m. every Tuesday, I'm doing a podcast with James Beard, who you just mentioned got you booked. He's one of the matchmakers of SWE, and I think Jazz is going to be our guest next week. So make sure you guys check out our podcast. Stephen Curtis wants to know who would be on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Ooh, okay. I am a big Rick Rude fan. He's a big what I do is a lot of Rick Rude. So Rick Rude would be on there. Kurt Hennig. Now this is just a Rushmore about for me, right? This ain't like the best.
Yeah, no, it's your
Okay,
top
my
four
personal,
favorites. So your first two are some good ones right there.
Yeah. So okay, we're on there. So Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, Rick Martel, and Macho Man Randy Savage.
Good picks for sure. You kind of already answered this. Chris is asking you if James has any interest in going into wrestling, and you said no for that one.
No.
Michael wanted to know if you ever met Marcus Laurinaitis.
I have. Another great guy. The Terminator.
Yeah, whatever happened to him? I was actually going to ask Hannibal before he passed to try and hook me up with an interview with him because he kind of vanished after he had a decent little run.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I believe he had an injury is why he got out. I'm going to have to ask him his full story, though, next time I see him.
There's a fan out here asking if you'd ever wrestle in Mexico for a company like AAA.
No, of course. Absolutely. Tell me where to sign.
Yeah. You'll have to send the tape to Conan, but I understand COVID's screwing over Mexico right now too. And unfortunately, a lot of wrestlers there are having financial issues because they're like a gate-based business where they're like paid off of live gates. So it's really hard there right now. And of course, their medical system isn't as good as the US and Canada get treated for COVID. Danny Majin says, this is a tremendous interview. What was your experience working with Al Snow, ASWA, and OVW?
Oh, man. Al Snow is one of my favorite people ever. The way he puts things, the way he says things to you, it just makes sense. And he says it in such a funny way. He tells it in like a story, but his story just makes sense. And he's really blunt too. He'll just tell you. But I think Al Snow is one of the smartest minds in the business today. I have nothing but good things to say about Al Snow, and I love working at OVW. I got to get back in contact with him and get some dates when I can work it out. Unfortunately, usually his Saturday night specials are at like the first Saturday of the month, and typically that's Harley's, so it was really hard to get going there, and I'd have to go up on like a Tuesday or Wednesdays for his TV tapings, which sometimes just gets to be a hassle, and you gotta shoot job and you gotta leave early, and then you don't get back till 2 a.m. and yeah. But yeah, OVW, Al Snow, good stuff.
What are you doing for your shoot job these days?
So since I moved here to Missouri, I work at an autism center. I've been there for the past 4 years. I have my teaching degree, but it's in Phi Ed, and it's really hard to get into that because there's just not enough Phi Ed teachers per student. A lot of everybody here watching this has been to school, so there's not as many jobs, and then you got COVID now on top of that. And yeah, so I really like where I'm at. So it's using my teaching degree, I guess. So it's going well.
Yeah, I used to work with people with disabilities as well. What do you think about guys like Jim Cornette that will like make fun of autistic people and so forth? I know he's a heel and stuff, but it's kind of low to go there, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I don't like it at all, honestly.
The Wrestling Knowledge wants to know if you own anything sentimental from Animal.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of T-shirts and a lot of clothing, but I mean, my wife's got tons of stuff, so she was really close with them. talk to him every day. Yeah.
Did she ever consider getting into the wrestling business? I noticed she's got a couple tattoos. She looks like she could probably give some of these girls a run for their money.
I'm always telling her, like, if she, start training, she would go to the top. she's got everything that makes a superstar, and then plus her dad, that just gives her an extra boost. I also tell her too, I'm like, you and Rachel. I mean, Rachel's wrestling. Rachel Ellering, Paul's daughter. She's wrestling. I'm like, right there. You guys got a tag team already. That's money. That's gold. Somebody I would book that.
Yeah, I think Rachel was just released too recently, wasn't she? So I guess she'll be back on the independent scene probably eventually.
Yeah, I think she did a couple AEW Darks recently.
Adam G wants to know if you have any stories about Minnesota wrestling, or did you learn anything particular wrestling there?
Yeah, actually, I learned a lot in Minnesota, um, and mostly just working with one of the veterans there. His name's Sepio, but he really taught me just to slow down and soak things in. As a new guy, I wanted to go. Not saying I was doing like a bunch of moves and flipping and diving and all that stuff, but I was young and learning, but I was just going a little too fast, and he really taught me to slow things down, lay your shots in, yeah, just that old AWA style, you know.
Have you ever met Barry Darso?
I have not, but I'd like to.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Chris wants to know if you've had the chance to work with any of the Von Erich third generations.
Again, I haven't, but I'd love to.
Yeah, and for the fans that don't know, Lacey Von Erich is going to be returning to wrestling in SWE in February. She's going to be doing some appearances, so get ready for that. Someone's asking if you have any wrestling theme songs in your iPod.
No, I don't. I don't have many songs on my iPhone actually, but that's something I should have.
Spade wants to know if you own a Glock, which I don't know what that is. Maybe you do.
Glock. No.
Yeah.
No, I don't own a gun.
Yeah, maybe you could clarify what that is. What is your workouts like? Are you more of a power guy like Animal was, or are you doing like CrossFit? Like, what are you doing in the gym?
So I used to lift pretty heavy, I guess, powerlifting, high school and college, but I mean, my joints have really taken a toll from that. And then I kind of got into like the bodybuilding, splitting things up, chest and triceps, back and buys, stuff like that. And I kind of got into that groove where, just kind of plateauing. But about a year ago, one of the wrestlers locally here in St. Louis, he's a nutritionist and really smart guy, personal trainer, real smart guy. But he kind of set up this workout plan for me that I've been following pretty well for the most part. But it's kind of full body workouts. A lot of things like you end with like burpees. He kind of did it so it's ring related. Kind of blow myself up a little bit and short bursts of energy. And sometimes I'll be under tension for like a minute, like sometimes I'll do leg extensions for 1 minute, which doesn't seem like a lot, but by the time you get to 30 seconds, your legs are burning, and you got 30 more seconds to go and you got to crank that out. So he really focuses on getting both my fast twitch fibers and my slow twitch fibers, getting those things torn so I can tear them up and build them back up, make them stronger. So doing that the last year or so, and it's been great over COVID too, because I can do a lot of things from home, because it's a lot of plyometric like stuff, scissor jumps and squat jumps. I really like to hit the legs. I mean, it is the biggest body part, so really kind of focus on that. My calves, though, if I can get some help on those, because no matter what I do for my calves, they just don't grow.
Yeah, a lot of people are like that with the calves, and I know Arnold went over and above to get his up. Have you heard that Terry Funk is going to be joining the matchmaking team at SWE Fury starting in February?
I did. That is amazing. A great pickup, guys. Great work, James.
Have you had a chance to meet Terry Funk or do anything with him yet?
I have not, but I'm looking forward to it.
Any favorite match of Terry's that you've seen over the years?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I just like he's a badass. I mean, that's plain and simple.
Yeah, former ECW and NWA world champion, and definitely has a great mind for wrestling, so that should be very interesting. Joe Shipley is calling you James Storm Jr. Have you ever heard that before?
That's a first. That's a first.
Kaz58223 wants to know, who are some of your favorite wrestlers?
Yeah, kind of like I mentioned before, Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, Macho Man Randy Savage, Shawn Michaels, Rick Martel, and those are a lot of the guys I study too. I mean, lately I don't, and this is kind of bad, but I don't keep up to date with all the current wrestling. A lot of times I just pick a wrestler and I study. So, like Ricky Morton, I try, and those are guys kind of close to my style. And Dolph Ziggler, he's the man. Hail Dolph. Dolph Ziggler is the reason I got back into wrestling, because I kind of fell out of wrestling for a long period of my life. And it wasn't until college when I started getting back into wrestling and liking it, and which caused me to start training. So Dolph Ziggler is the man in my world.
Now, you're known as the Heart Throb. Could you tell us a little bit about what that gimmick is all about? And is it an extension of your personality, or what's the deal with that?
I guess it's a little extension of my personality. Around here, I'm not really the good guy, per se. I'm not real liked around this area here in Missouri. But going out to new territory and all that, like Texas, they seem to love me.
So yeah, okay. So you're just kind of like a Shawn Michaels type character. Some people love you, some people don't, but the ladies love you, I guess.
Yeah. I'm the heel around here. The heel people want to be.
Steve says you and Ziggler would make a great tag team.
Let's get it going.
Adam G wants to know, what is your finisher?
It's the Harlem Sidekick from Booker T. I call it the Side Kiss.
Have you had the chance to work for Booker T's Reality of Wrestling yet?
I have not, no.
The Wrestling Knowledge wants to know if you were a fan of ECW growing up. I don't know how old you would have been when ECW was around.
Yeah, I was a fan, definitely, but I guess I was more so, I was really young, but I was a big fan of WCW. I guess that was my thing. My dad and I watched the most. But ECW, yeah, it's a little outside of my time range, but
yeah. Would you say you're in the prime of your career now for athletic wise?
I think so. Yeah.
Someone's asking, if you had the choice between AEW and NXT, which one would you prefer?
That's a tough question, I guess. Depends on what's all on the table. So tough question.
Yeah, well, it is a business, but we have seen a lot of the girls of SWE Fury have been appearing in AEW on AEW Dark in recent months, and even some of the guys have been. So who knows? Someone's asking you, do you have any thoughts on the Ultimate Warrior who teamed with your father-in-law a bunch?
I mean, I thought he was a great gimmick. I loved the running to the ring, all the energy, shaking the ropes. He's a great example of when people tell you to fire up. Look at Ultimate Warrior. That's how you fire up, guys. Like,
Kaz says, is there one match in particular that you saw that made you want to actually become a wrestler?
Nothing in particular, but just Dolph Ziggler matches and Shawn Michaels matches kind of, like I said, they kind of brought me back into the reality of wrestling.
Another fan wants to know what exactly made you come up with the Heartthrob name.
So, just searching for a gimmick. I always felt I kind of looked like the Ziggler and Shawn Michaels, like that kind of style of wrestler. And so, just asking other people and stuff, like it just came about. One of the promoters said, you should call yourself, I started out as like the Heartbreaker, and then it eventually turned to the Heartthrob. So yeah, it was just kind of one of those things where I was bouncing off ideas of people and from people and other promoters and all that, and came up with Heartthrob. I'm like, well, let's stick with this. Went well. And I can portray it two different ways. I have a heel character as the Heartthrob, and I have a face character.
Who are some of the better known wrestlers that you've been in the ring with that fans would recognize the names of on here?
Carlito, Trevor Murdoch, who else? Some bigger names. Sean Hernandez, B. Brian Blair. That was an absolute honor to share the ring with B. Brian Blair. In my view, just he's done so much, and yeah, he continues. I was absolutely shocked that he's still working and still working hard in the ring. So yeah, those are pretty much my main guys right there.
Where was that match with Brian?
It was amazing. It was a tag match. So, and both the Killer Bees were there. He and Jim were both there. He wasn't in the tag match. Jim wasn't in the tag match though. They had somebody else. But yeah, it was up in Chicago at the old Berwyn Eagles Club, famous venue.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Ian Freese says he's your cousin. Your wife is his cousin by marriage.
Yeah, what's up, Ian? Thanks for watching, buddy.
Danny wants to know, when it comes to Dolph, is there any match in particular of his that fires you up when you watch it?
Nothing in particular, I guess. I do like his matches with bigger opponents, like for say the Big Show or something, because man, I just love how Dolph Ziggler sells. Like all of his selling is just so real to me, and his oversells are great. Yeah.
What's the favorite match that you've had, past or present? I guess Steve Ferrara wants to know, and maybe not only the favorite match you've had, but favorite match to watch.
Favorite match I had is probably against Carlito. Super fun. My gimmick and his gimmick really meshed well, and fans liked it. I got to throw his apple. It was pretty monumental to me. But my favorite match all time is probably Steamboat and Savage Wrestlemania 3. I know that's a lot of people say that, but it is a dang good match. Although they shouldn't have. I'll just leave it at that. I don't need to get into the whole deal.
Angel Hernandez says, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but why wasn't LOD hired in 2003 by WWE? I know they had the match against RVD and Kane, I think. And also, do you feel Mr. Perfect was misused in 2002 where they just basically used him as an enhancement guy?
Yeah. But I think they were also using his knowledge, to help the other guys around him. Kurt Hennig, pound for pound, is one of the best ever.
Yeah, I think he was also helping train Brock Lesnar in those days. And well, I guess it's sad, really. He actually got fired because him and Lesnar had that little amateur match on the plane. And I guess between the two of them, someone had to take the heat. And it was Kurt that ended up getting fired, unfortunately.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah. Have you ever met Kurt's son, the one that's wrestling?
No. Joe Hennig?
Yeah.
I mean, backstage and stuff at WWE, said hi and all that, but nothing like, we haven't been on any events together or anything like that.
Yeah, I know he was trained by Harley too, but it would have been before your time there for sure.
Harley got to come backstage one of the nights when they were in St. Louis, and I know Joe came over and talked to him for quite a while. Sat by Harley and talked about everything.
Someone's asking your favorite WrestleMania.
I'd say, I don't know. I gotta say the first one is just monumental, I guess.
Yeah, it would be up there for sure. If any fans want to look you up on social media, where can they find you on social media?
Facebook is Heartthrob Jaden. Instagram and TikTok is The Heartthrob. THEE Heartthrob.
I don't have TikTok, but it seems like a pretty unique social media. Are you doing the dances and stuff like that?
Some of them, man. It was a quarantine thing. We all downloaded it here in the house, and yeah, it's interesting. It's really cool, though. I really like their platform and all the cool videos you come across. There's some interesting people on there and making money just from getting introduced from there.
You mentioned there's a stepson in your family. Is there any chance he's going to get into the wrestling business?
Oh, Jacob, man, he's got such a big future, either hockey, football, or wrestling if he chooses. But yeah, Jacob's only 9 years old and he's like 135 pounds. He's just solid muscle. Killing it in hockey, killing it in football. So, kid knows more wrestling just from him and I wrestling around at home here and stuff. He's sometimes, I hate to say it, but better than some of the workers I wrestle. But yeah, he's definitely got a future in something.
Yeah, you run into some pretty bad ones on the indies.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know, what was your favorite promotion growing up?
So, funny thing, if we're talking about indie wrestling, when I first got into wrestling, I didn't even really know there was such thing as indie wrestling. So, shame on me. But as far as promotions, I have to say WWE I watched, and WCW. But WCW, WWE are definitely the ones I watched the most as a kid. Now I like to tune into that New Japan and all that stuff. That's some good hard-hitting action.
Did anyone ever play any ribs on you in wrestling?
Nothing extreme, I guess.
Not like the old days.
No.
Someone's bringing up Rodney Mack on here. He's the SWE TV champion. Any interest in getting in the ring with him and trying to take the TV title?
I'd love to do that. I forgot to mention this. One of my matches in Kansas, this was like probably my first or second year, I got to wrestle Rodney Mack in a tag match. I'll never forget it. I goofed up a bunch. He said it wasn't too bad and everything, but he wasn't mad or anything like that. But I goofed something up. But yeah, I'll never forget that.
What would your dream tag team match be as far as your partner and opponents, if you could choose anyone that's currently active in wrestling?
I do myself and Dolph versus the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty.
Yes. Marty was actually pretty over in that Missouri territory, I think, at one point in time.
Yeah. I got to meet Marty a few times and actually borrowed him a pair of my wrestling gear in one show. It's quite interesting.
Is he as crazy as he comes off in his interviews?
Oh, yeah.
He's a wild man.
Yes, he is.
Well, I thank you a lot for coming on with us. I'll just put the graphics up that the SWE wanted me to show. Every Tuesday night at 9 Eastern, James Beard and I are going to do a SWE Fury podcast. And where you can watch SWE, it keeps expanding. They're going to make announcements too, starting in February, 2 new channels. But they're on all over the place, as well as the SWE and the Hannibal TV YouTube channels. And this is the big event that you're going to be on Saturday, February 6th in Irving, Texas, just outside of Dallas. Lots of big names there. So that's going to be a big one.
Yes, sir. Can't wait.
Andrew Anderson says that your stepfather wanted him to team up with you at one point. Do you recall this?
Andrew actually talked to me about this after the last show I was on, and he mentioned that to me. But when I look back and tried to think of that, yeah, he did mention something. He just didn't say who or anything like that. But yeah, that would be awesome.
And of course, Andrew, he's also going to be on those SWE events. He's a regular for SWE. He actually broke a guy's arm. He broke Action Jackson's arm.
Oh, man.
SWE show. So I don't know if he's been fined for that or not yet, but he's going to be in some trouble.
Naughty.
So to close this off, could we get a taste of one of your promos? Could you do like a generic promo about the Heart Throb coming to SWE to put you on the spot?
You want a generic promo?
Since you don't know your opponent yet?
Sure. What up, SWE fans? It's the Heart Throb coming to Irving, Texas, and I ain't gonna stop, baby. I ain't stopping until I'm on top, because that's the only way to be, baby.